Hey legends, my name is Mo and welcome to the Can't Can Will podcast. I'm a Raw Marine who is dedicated to optimising human performance and want to bring you exposure to the fantastic people supporting the same aim. In this episode, I speak to an incredible athlete who through a lifetime of adversity was able to represent his country at the London 2012 Olympic Games, earning a bronze medal. We talk about his career, adversity, and how he uses his story to inspire others to be better tomorrow than today. This episode has been sponsored by Discreet Chaos. Head over to their Instagram at Discreet Chaos and use the promotion code CAN'tCanWill21 to receive a 10% discount on all clothing. Episode 8, Anthony Ogogo. So mate, I hear that you was a bit of a footballer when in your younger days, is that right?
Yeah, I did a bit, mate. I was, listen, there's a lot of things I'm not very good at. But as a kid, I was clever at school, which I think all kind of feeds into the same thing. I was very competitive, always wanted to be the best, so I always worked really hard at school, so wanted to be the clever kid. And I was really good at sports. And I was that annoying kid that in year 6 we could do badminton in PE, and I'd be beating the teacher by the first time I ever picked up a badminton racket. I was doing that and doing that. So like I said, there's a million things I cannot do, but growing up as a kid, I was very lucky and fortunate that the things I liked, the competitive things, the sporty things, I was always good at. So,
was that something that like your parents like encouraged or pushed you into? Like, why do you think you were? Is that natural ability? Why do you think that was the case?
Not pushed. So I grew up quite a unique upbringing, but we all have unique upbringings. But mine was quite unique. I grew up. No dad around, my mum. I've got 4 sisters, so a house full of women. I don't know why. We're all really sporty. And my mum isn't at all, so it's not from her genes. But so dad was never around, but I don't think he particularly was either. But all really sporty kids. And my mum was always like, we could not hang around on street corners. So that's when we weren't allowed to do that. So my mum, most inspirational person in my life, my hero she worked her backside off full time, doing this job and that job to provide for us and to support us and to drive us to this club and that club and that club and that club. So we just could not hang around on the street corners. And from a young kid, I was always very competitive. I wanted to win. I loved winning. Maybe you can delve down deep into one psyche and say that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to win because I wanted attention, because at home there's 5 of us and I had one parent, and her attention was obviously divided between all 5 of us, and my dad wasn't around, and maybe I wanted love and attention from somebody, and I thought if I was good at something, I would get that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really know. All I know is as a kid, I was good at sports. I liked doing it, and I always knew that was going to be like the arena I was going to live my life in, because they gave me something, they just gave me something.
What was it about sports that you liked?
I played football, as you mentioned. I played for Norwich up until under 14, and I was captain of my county all through the years. And I love football. Like most kids, most boys want to grow up and play for their team. And as I was a kid, I'm a big Norwich fan. As a kid, I wanted to play for Norwich, and then join Man U and win the Champions League. So as a kid, I was quite realistic. Norwich aren't going to win the Champions League anytime soon. So I have Norwich, join Man U.
So you use them as a stepping stone to get to where you want to go.
But you let me finish. So joined Norwich, 2 or 3 burgeoning years, come through, banging goals in, tearing up the Premier League. Go to Man U, 4 or 5 years. Go to Juve, I always loved Juventus. Go to Barcelona, come back to Man U for a couple of years, and then early to mid 30s. And as I'm winding it down, come back to Norwich, and then take us to unparalleled heights. So
what age were you thinking about doing this?
If we're gonna do it, let's do it properly. So. Breakthrough at 17, because I'm a precocious talent. 19, get my big money moves. So 2 big years in Norwich, learning the trade, banging goals in. Maybe the first year in the Championship, I got up to the Premier League. 1 year in Premier League, we do well, we survive. I get a big move to Man United. I begrudgingly go because Norwich is my club. Go to Man United, 19 years old. I'm there till 25, 6 years there. I have a bust up with Alex Ferguson. I then go to Juventus for a year in Juventus, win the Champions League. I'm not happy there. My wife doesn't like Italy. We go to Barcelona, have a year there. I win the Champions League, top goal scorer, and have a bust up of a player. I come back to Man U. 3 more years, so I do my 10 years in Man U, get my testimonial. Blah, blah, blah. Then at 33, after maybe a bad injury, Man U are like, look, we don't think you've got it anymore. You know, we're going to sell you back to my hometown club. Go back to Norwich. Now, Norwich, maybe we were in League One. Maybe we've had a bit of fall from grace. And I'm the charismatic talisman. I've gone from up front to midfield. I've lost a yard of pace, but I've still got the vision, still got the engine. Drop into midfield. My claws back up to the Championship. Get promoted. Again, Championship, Premier League. Get promoted. And then my last year at the club, we stay in Premier League and we win the FA Cup. Then I retire. So that was my thought process as a kid.
So what age were you when you were thinking this? I mean, that's like pretty clear vision, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I've been this is up until I was 12. I've been I am very driven as a human being. I think that is the reason why I've been successful in my life. I've achieved lots of success, and also when I have hit rock bottom, and I have hit rock bottom numerous times, that same drive has got me out of rock bottom and back on the arc to success again. And I'm very much on that arc now. I was 18 months ago, I'd never been as low as I was. So I've always been very driven. So that drive stems from me being a kid. So that football journey was up until I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, I started boxing, and for a couple of years I ran boxing and football side by side. I also swam to a national level. I just love winning. I love competing, love winning. But when things got difficult and I had to start missing the odd Norwich game, the odd Suffolk game, I never missed boxing. Boxing was always going to be the one for me. Reason being, boxing gave me something. I'm sure you'll be able to know, or maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. But boxing gave me something that the other sports didn't give me. Because I remember, like, I've told a story in other like podcasts in the past, and I boxed and I played football and I've done all this stuff together. But the weekend I knew that boxing was for me was on the Friday. I was 14. On the Friday night, I won the British Championships, the NABCs in Retford in Nottinghamshire. I lived in Lowestoft, the East Anglia. Lowestoft is the most easterly point in the UK.
Yeah, I've been. I've got a friend that lives there.
Which is our tagline. All that means is a pain in the ass to get to because it's so far away, and it's a pain in the ass to get from, as you know. It's a long, long way away. So we got back to my house like 2 or 3 in the morning. Later than that, both here, more like 3 in the morning. Friday night, national champion. I'd become English champion the year before. That's my first British championship. So I felt I was on king. I was a 14-year-old boy on king of the world. I was on top of the world. I felt like I was king. The next day, so got it like 3 in the morning, Saturday morning. At 12 noon, we had a Suffolk match. And I was captain of my county. We had over Hertfordshire or Bedfordshire. I can't remember which one. But I was at home in Ipswich. We had to be there at 10 a.m. for 12 noon kickoff. So got on about 3, had my shower. I was buzzing still. I had some chocolate because I just become the English British champion. Went to bed at say 4:30. Woke up, I felt like a bag of shit. My neck was all sore, my face was all bruised. It was a really hard fight. I beat a lad called Stuart Reid, who was the Scottish champion, really top fighter. And but my back was, I was just like, I just had a fight the night before, and I was like in pain, like I just had a fight the night before. Jumped in the car, went down to Ipswich, and tried to condense the story. At half time, we were 3-0 down. And I've gone back into the change room, and the manager went mad at all of us, but especially me, being the captain. He fucking bollocked me. And he either called me a C word, he called me the C word, dropped a C bomb on me, right? I was a 14-year-old kid. And I thought, you fucking prick. I'm sitting there, and we went down 1-0 because our left back, Grant, remember, he's on the corner, was twiddling with his drawstring on the corner. So rather than marking the geezer, he's sitting there doing this. He goes up, heads it in. We go 1-0 down. I gave him a wallacking at the time because anyway, I wasn't playing great, but I was trying hard. Nobody was playing good, but I was trying hard. Anyway, so I came out the change room and my uncle was there because my cousin Danny, he was right back for the team. So my uncle was there. He drove us down. I came out, face like thunder. Uncle Mark said to me, "What's the matter?" I said, "Oh, manager just fucking called me this and that." He had a pop at me. I'm fucking fuming. Anyway, so I played the second half. The final score was 4-1. I scored our goal. Played a bit better, but obviously we lost. Anyway, during the second half, Uncle Mark said to the manager, he said to him, "Look," he said, "I'm having a bit of an off game," as everyone was, because last night he became British champion. Because they didn't know about my boxing because I kept that to myself. And he said, "Look, that's why he's having a bit of an off game." To be fair to a manager, after the game, he pulled me to the side and said, "I'm really sorry, mate. I had no idea. Well done. Massive congratulations. Well done. A great effort today." But I sat in the car on the way home, pissed off because we'd lost. And I used to hate losing. And that was the day for me. I thought, I ain't doing this anymore. Like the night before, I was king of the world. And it was all me. It was all down to me. And then the next day, we lost because the left back was tossing it off on the corner. And a bloke, even though I was trying so hard, a bloke had a go at me. Not necessarily, but it wasn't my fault. So what I'm saying is boxing, it always appealed to me. Like an individual sport appeals to me in my mindset because win, lose or draw, it's your fault. Like if you win, get all the success. You're never going to share it with the rest of the team. And if you lose, it's your fault. You've got to go back to the gym, back to the drawing board and get better and improve. And I like that sense of responsibility. You know, my career, my happiness, my success in my life is down to me.
What was the reason why you started boxing in the first place?
I started boxing 12 years old. As I mentioned, I was a good sportsman or sports boy, sports kid. And then quite a funny story. So we were playing football at lunchtime on the school field like we did every lunchtime. Like back then where I'm from and at that age, like lunchtime football was life. I mean, if you won lunchtime football, you're king of the school for the next 2 hours, and the same thing the next day. It was life. And then we were playing single cuppy, so everyone against each other. And my two best friends, Adam and Aaron, were both left in. Adam was big, cool, good looking. All the girls fancied him, good at football. Everyone liked him. Aaron was small, bit of a nerd. He used to wear a backwards cap. He used to play football with his backpack on his back. Like everyone would take their backpack off and put it in the corner. He'd have it on his back. Bit of a geek. Anyway, so everyone thought Adam was going to win. Adam done a couple of skills, took a shot. It come off Aaron's leg into the top corner. So it was Aaron's goal, the small nerdy one. So he was running around giving it the Alan Shearer, like celebrating. And Adam had the ump. So Adam goes over to him and he shoves him. Aaron takes a massive back bump, rolls backwards. And he got up here, "Don't do that. That's not very nice." We were 12, so we were kids. So Adam done again, shoved him again. This time his backpack opened, his lunch has come out of his bag, and Aaron got up, took his bag off, walked up to him. We've all gone around, fight for us, like back in the day, fight, all gone out in a big circle. They're both squaring up, right? And everyone thinks Adam, the big, cool, tough, hard one, was going to win. And like 25 seconds later, Adam, the big, cool, tough, hard one, was on the floor, crying his eyes out. Aaron just went bam, 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 and smashed him. And everyone's going, Aaron, on the shoulders, Aaron. And basically, he beat up Adam.
This episode has been sponsored by Discreet Chaos. Head over to their Instagram at Discreet Chaos and use the promotion code Can'tCanWill21 to receive a 10% discount on all clothing.
And as a Wednesday, he said, "There's a beginner session on tonight, like 6 till 7. I'm in the advanced class, 7 till 9, but you can come sign the beginner session." I'm going to do that. So I went to Adam, who's on the floor. He's wiping the tears away. The bell goes. Everyone's walking to school. Aaron on everyone's shoulders. I go, "Adam," I went, like, Aaron only won because he goes boxing club. So what we should do, go tonight, get really good. you can fight him again tomorrow. Then you'll win. He went, nah, I don't know. I said, go on. If you do that, all the girls are going to fancy you again. He went, yeah. He went, yeah. He went, gone in. So the bell went from school, raced home, got my bicycle, bike to Adams. I went to the sports shop. I was so eager to go that I got a gum shield from the independent sports shop. Like not realizing you got to mold a gum shield to your mouth. I just got a big plastic thing, orange rubber thing in my mouth. Got my bike, went to Adam's house, gave him a seater, bike to the gym. As I said, I walked in the gym. Before even throwing a punch, I walked in, I saw the posters on the wall, I smelled the smell, the aura, the feeling, and I just knew that was where I was going to spend, either my life or a large majority of my life in that environment. And so that's how I got into boxing. And going on a couple of years with the story when I jacked in football, I'm glad I did, because I was a better boxer than footballer probably. Although I do think I'd have made it as a footballer. I think I've got the
Man United, Juventus. Was that realistic?
Yeah, maybe those ambitions were a little bit lofty. I genuinely do think that I had enough talent, but more than just the talent, the things I've displayed in my boxing career, like everything I've achieved in my life, I shouldn't have achieved it. Like I've 100% overachieved every event, every corner I've gone to, I've overachieved, because I've had so many setbacks and I've overcome such much bad stuff. And if I'd have felt football as I did boxing, I know I'd have done the same. So I think I'd have made a career. I'd have been a pro. What level? I don't know. Probably not Barcelona and Juventus winning the Ballon d'Or. Probably not. But you never know. But I think I could have done okay. But I'm very happy I chose boxing, because although it's much, much harder for sport and the money's not quite there, it gave me. It was authentic to me. It gave me everything that I was yearning for, that little kid inside me was yearning for at the time. He gave me that and more.
Can you describe what the boxing environment's about? And you mentioned about the smell of the gym and the atmosphere, and what is it, the attraction, why so many people love boxing? What is it about the sport that you ended up becoming devoted to?
Well, for me, going back to that same, it was the winning. It was that combat, me versus that person, me and him, similar age, similar size, similar weight. Now I've got to out hustle. I've got to out hustle him, outwork him, out maneuver him, out skill him. Sometimes just out dog him to win. Like it's modern day gladiator stuff. Like you've got to use your brains and your brawns to overcome your opponent. And that really appeals to me. There's no hiding place in the boxing ring. You can be a footballer, you can be a rugby player, you can be most other team sports and have an off day. I don't really fancy it today. It's a bit cold, and hide a bit. And I've got Premier League footballers that are my friends, and they hide sometimes. They don't want to play. they're not up for it. You can't do that in a boxing ring. There's no hiding place. It's you and your opponent. So it's great. I guess also teaches you a lot about yourself. Teaches you a lot, like in certain situations in life, what are you going to do? And I do a bit of motivational speaking now, and because I talk about some of the setbacks I've experienced in my life and come back from, and what it's done to me. And there's this thing I say in my talks, like in boxing, it's 100% a microcosm of life. Think like when you get knocked down in boxing and when you get knocked down in life, oftentimes you do the same thing. You see a lot of boxers, they get knocked down or they take a body shot and you see them and you think, if they really wanted to, they could make the 10 count and carry on boxing. You see them, you go, they just don't want to do it anymore. They don't fancy it. Same thing in life. Like when you get knocked down in life, oftentimes some people get up and they carry on fighting for that thing they want most of all. Yet some people, they get knocked down in life and they stay knocked down and they don't get back up, metaphorically.
Do you think that is something that can be learned, or do you think that is inherent in you to start with?
I've definitely learned 100%. And it's a lot to do with one's upbringing. People I have respect for, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I never liked him. I wanted to box him in the pros. People I have respect for in this thing, I really wanted to fight Chris Eubank Jr. in the pros. We never happened. I hurt my eye and I had to retire, and it never happened. But I would love to punch his head in. However, I respect him because growing up, from the outside perspective, I might be wrong here, but growing up, looking at somebody like him, and there's loads of people like him in the world, it's just one example, that grew up with a nice lifestyle, you know. He had everything given to him probably. He had a famous dad, millionaire. He probably got everything he ever wanted. And to grow up with that silver spoon in your mouth and still be hungry as fuck to achieve yourself, I respect that. I grew up with nothing. So I desperately want to be successful because I saw my mum work her ass off, 3 jobs, raised 5 kids, all on her own. And I wanted more for my life than she had. And I was yearning for that. And you see boxing, perfect example. You see most successful boxers are working class, come from nothing, very humble beginnings, and they want to buy them on my house. They want the Lamborghinis that they were told they could never have as a kid because they were poor or they were broke. Whatever. So that drive comes from that upbringing. In my opinion, I was exactly the same. You know, I didn't want to have the life that my mum had. So that was instilled in me, and I knew I was only going to get somewhere in life by working really hard and for fighting for what I want. So I started fighting both literally and metaphorically. So I think definitely something you can learn. You're not born with it, you know. And you know, also how much you want it, what are you prepared to put up with to get it? You know, like if you haven't sacrificed so much, I can't think of an analogy off the top of my head, but if you haven't sacrificed that much and you don't get it, let's say you want to do a 5K and you need to do it in a certain 25 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever the time is, and then you train twice and you did it in 32 minutes. You're like, a bit annoyed, but really you didn't train hard, so you can't be that annoyed. And so you sacrificed your whole life, you trained, you ate right, you gave everything to running this 30-minute 5K, and you run it in 30:07, and you didn't do it, then you're going to be crestfallen because you gave your life to it. You know, you gave everything to it. It means more to you. So I think you can definitely, the more you give to something, that intestinal fortitude that you have for it is definitely higher. So it's something you learn, 100%. I think you can learn it. You're not born with it. People aren't born, you know, well, maybe, I don't know. I think it's something that's a learned behavior.
How dedicated do you need to be a boxer? Successful boxer.
Yeah, I haven't played every sport in the world, but I've played quite a few sports. But I think it's the most it requires more dedication than any other sport, because for example, me, I used to fight at middleweight, 11 stone 6, 72.5 kilograms, 160 pounds. I used to walk around at about 13 stone. So when I say walk around that, I was always in the gym. I was always in camp. I was always training really hard. Like, I was always watching what I ate. I'm not a big drinker. So I was always on it. And me being on it, still watching my food and training hard, I'd be about 13 stone.
But that's so the difference in weight loss, yeah? So you cut for a fight, is that right?
Yeah, so but what I'm saying is, it's not like I used to go, not like I'll do a Ricky Hatton and walk around eating pies and drinking beer and get to 13 stone, having to lose 1.5 stones to make 12 stone 6. That'd be one thing. But I was already in camp, already dedicated, already training hard to level off at 13 stone. If I did it, I'd go up and up and up and up and up. So 13 stone, me training hard and eating well, anyway, I had to get down to 11 stone 6. So you had to lose 1.5 stones every single time I used to fight. Lose what's that, like 9 kilos every fight. But it's not just losing the weight, it's anybody can lose weight. You burn more calories than you put in. That's quite simple science. But it's about losing the weight and being strong at the weight and being able to perform at the weight and getting punched in the head and be able to be resilient enough to take a punch and fire back. So extremely dedicated, could be, because most athletes train hard. Like, most athletes train hard. It's easy to train hard. You just wake up and train hard. You know, it's not hard to train hard. It's simple. It's simple to train hard. If you're a sprinter, if you're a badminton player, if you're a rugby player, you wake up, you train hard. Now you do that on as little as 400 calories a day, losing weight. That now it's really hard. You're training really hard on a massively reduced calorie intake. That's hard. Then your body doesn't repair properly. You can't eat enough protein and carbs to repair. So your body doesn't repair. So you train harder and harder. So you're not training. So your energy levels are depleting. Your body doesn't repair. You get injuries. You get niggles. Whereas if you could replenish your body properly, you wouldn't get those injuries and niggles because your body's just weaker. And then you got to go in and perform on fight night in front of 10,000 people on TV, on YouTube, be on YouTube for the rest of your life. So it's really, really hard, very dedicated. It takes a lot of discipline and dedication to be an athlete for one, but a boxer. And if you ever need any, that to be kind of clarified, you get the fittest runner in the world. You can get a marathon runner in the world. And then you take them on the pads, hit the pads, then they're going to be struggling because it's a different fitness. And then you put them in a sparring session with somebody who's actually hitting them back. It's one thing hitting the bag, right? Hitting the pads, that's hard. But when you've got somebody hitting you back, you get tight, you get stiff, you lose your breath even quicker because it's a really unnatural situation to be in. So the fitness levels of boxers are unreal, and as I said, you can prove that by taking your fittest runners, swimmers, and getting them in the ring with somebody, getting hit, and see how quickly they not can withstand the head punches. That's a different thing, but I see how quickly they blow a gasket because they're breathing heavy because they're getting punched, mentally under the cosh.
So, mate, you at 14, you win the junior British title, and you then dedicate yourself to the sport of boxing. How quickly was your rise? You went to the Junior Olympics.
Yeah, pretty quick. I mean, there's loads of stuff we could talk about, but to get to the meat and potato stuff. Yeah, I won the Junior Olympics as a 15-year-old. First one, I went to America in Texas, won the Junior Olympics. Then I won the World Junior Championships in 2005 the following year. Then I won medals at European Games in all different like multinational tournaments around the Kringy. And then first bit of adversity I suffered in my life really, my sporting career was in 2008. I won the ABA Championships, the British Championships. I was on the Great Britain team, and I tore my left shoulder. So I dislocated my left shoulder, tore my labrum. That's a bad injury, and I was out for a year. And then the week after surgery, I was at home, and Terry Edwards, he was the performance director, so in charge of the Great Britain boxing squad, he ran me and he said to me, "We're removing you from the GB squad." They kicked me off the squad. His words were, "You're no good to me injured." So although I was a reigning junior Olympic champion, junior world champion, just won the ABA championships, and the best welterweight in the country, I got kicked up the Great Britain squad, missed the 2008 Olympics, and so I couldn't even go to the qualifier to the 2008 Olympics. And then I was off the Great Britain squad, and like my whole life had been, like I mentioned, the city football story I mentioned. Like at that point, my vision was so clear that I was going to go to the Olympics in 2008. Mainly for experience. I was 18, maybe just turned 19. Good, and maybe hopefully get a medal and then see what happened. But mainly for experience, because my goal was always the 2012 Olympics. 23 years old, physically mature.
So just explain the significance of that at that moment in time, because the Olympic cycle's 4 years. And obviously in 2008, that was 4 years before the London Games. And you was injured for a year of that pre-game cycle. You explain, as I said, explain the significance of being removed from the squad at that time, because that's when they start looking at who they're going to commit to for the next games.
100%, yeah, mate. So
because I don't think that the people listening to this would appreciate how far in advance of Olympic Games that squads are looked at, and how crucial that timing is.
Yeah, not just one cycle. Like there's a lad going to Tokyo this year called Fraser Clark, heavyweight Fraser Clark. He was 8 when I joined the GB squad. So I'll come on to this bit in a minute. But I got back on the Great Britain team in 2010 after being out for 2 years with my shoulder, 18 months. 2010, Fraser Clark was a heavyweight boxer, 18 years old, really good lad. 18. He's going 2010. He's going to Tokyo 2020, 2021 this year. He's been on the GB squad for 10 years straight. 10 years on a GB squad. So it's not just like you turn up a year before and you want to go to the Olympic Games. This lad's been for 10 years on the squad. He's a good boxer, but I mean, 10 years of getting the best training in the world. You ought to be a good boxer. A long time in advance. But in 2008, done my shoulder, kicked off. And up until that point, my vision was so clear. I'm going to go to the 2008 Olympics for experience. Go to London 2012 as one of their favourites, win a gold medal and so on and so forth. Yeah, being off the squad, I was gutted because my shoulder, with it to the size of a woman pipe cleaner, I had to work in a bar for £5.85, a little shitty little pub in my hometown, for £5.85 an hour, just to pay for physio. At this point, the Nigerian Boxing Federation approached me. My dad I have nothing to do with my dad my entire life, at all. He was Nigerian. So they approached me and said to me, this was 2009, they said, would I like to fight for Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games? And at this point, I was off the squad. I was a million miles away from the GB squad. I was injured. I couldn't throw a punch if I wanted to. My arm was so damaged. Getting back on the team looked a million miles away. And it could have been an easy route for me to say yes to that in the box. But that wasn't me. I'm not Nigerian. I'm 100% British. And that wasn't how I saw my future, how I saw my life. So I said, thank you, but no thank you. And I carried on working hard. And I got back on the team in 2010. Back on the GB squad.
How did you manage to keep that? Was it the vision and the bloody mindness of what you wanted to achieve to overcome that adversity and that in your life?
That is that. I'll get on to much bigger bits of adversity. That was like a little blip. But basically, that drive, my belief in myself, like how hard I worked. My dream, my dream essentially, my anchor anchored me to get me up every single morning. I didn't want to go and box for Nigeria. That's cheating. It's not real. I wouldn't walk out there and there's not one box. I'll come on to this later. I'm going to start. So, great. 2010 was a good year. I ended the year by beating the world number one in India, which was really good. Indian boxer, beat him in his backyard. 2011 was a fantastic. I was like the golden boy of the boxing squad in GB. I'd been off for 18 months, fought my way back from a bad injury. And 19-year-olds don't really get injuries like that. Like it was really unfortunate for me to get that injury. And I was like the Robert McCracken, the GB's coach. I was the example. We'd be in team meetings, and Robert McCracken would be like Anthony Ogogo. I'd be like, I get a bit embarrassed. Fucking hell, you know. And then 2011 was a good year. And again, my vision, my dream, I saw it so clearly. 2011, I beaten the world number one. I was 2012 Olympics, the first Olympics where they did seed. They seeded boxers. So prior to that, it was random draw, and which means random draw. For example, when Amir Khan fought in 2004 in Athens, he lost to Mario Kindland in the final, a Cuban.
Wow, was it that long ago?
2004, yeah.
Wow.
Had he fought Kindland in the first round by the random draw, they played him to get first round, he'd lost him back home and nobody knew who he was, 17 years old. The fact they were on opposite sides of the draw and they fought in the final, he became this huge star. So before that, 2012 was the first year they were seeded. And my dream, and this is my vision. So I was going to go to Europeans. I was going to win the gold medal because I was the best middleweight in Europe at that point. Get a load of ranking points, as in the June. Go to the World Championships in the October of 2011, which was the first Olympic qualifier. Also, get to the last 8. So the top 8 of the world qualified for the Olympics. So
is that automatic qualification then?
Yeah. So get to the last 8 in the world, qualify, and go on and win a medal, and get even more ranking points, and secure enough ranking points from the Europeans in the world to be a seeded boxer at the Olympics, which basically meant you avoided one of the big ones until the semi-final.
Or they avoided you.
Yeah, exactly. So that didn't quite happen. So I went to Europeans, first round, threw a punch against a Georgian. His arm was here, his arm was there. He went boom, and he dislocated my other shoulder. I had to fight off like one arm. I lost by 1 point, 14-13. I was gutted. One because I lost the fight and I wasn't going to win a gold medal at the Europeans and get those ranking points. And secondly, this was much worse than that. And I was out for a year with this one, and this shoulder was much worse injury. And I didn't have a year to do. I didn't have a year to be out because the Olympics were in exactly 1 year. And then the first qualifier was in October. So a huge decision to make. Do I get the surgery done there and then rush to rehab and try to get back for this? There's 2 qualifiers back then, October and in April. Olympics were in July. Miss the October qualifiers, go to April qualifiers. Hopefully it gets back in time for April. Hopefully I'll go there. Hopefully I'll qualify and do Olympics. And if I do that, then they'd have sent my number 2. But the number 2 middleweight on the squad at the time was Callum Smith. Callum Smith is a really, really good boxer. He's gone on to have a great career, become world champion as a pro, earn loads of money. I'll talk about him later as well. But I was the number 1 by a considerable distance. And I said I wasn't going to leave my dream. I wasn't going to let anybody else go in and get my dream. If he'd have went, I don't think he would have qualified because he wasn't that good then. But I wasn't going to risk it. So I said, I want to go. So I rehabbed my shoulder as possibly could in the 3 months. Went to the Worlds.
So no surgery then?
No surgery. No surgery. Not then. No, I gambled thinking what my gamble was. My gamble was going to go to the Worlds, qualify the first hurdle. Then I had 8 months before the Olympics. I was hoping in those 8 months, get the surgery then. So that was my plan. So I tried to strengthen my rotator cuff muscles as strong as possible to take the weight of the labrum, which was damaged and torn. So I fought a Korean, I beat him. My second fight, I fought a Russian who won the Europeans when I done my shoulder. He was really good. I beat him 10 points to 9 by a point. But in round 2, we were in a clinch. The reason why I was only 10-9 is because I was bashing him up in round 1. And in round 2, he's got hold of me because I was just too fast for him. And he threw me to the floor. I fell down, my shoulder came out of the socket again. I had to pick myself up and my shoulder up with my other arm. I had to fight the rest of the fight with one arm. And I won the fight by 10-9. And that was the biggest fight. That was a bigger fight. That was a bigger win for me than the Indian fight win the year before. I've gone to celebrate and my arms come out of the socket again. And I had to fight again the next day to qualify. And I fought a Brazilian who was a southpaw. And I can't be asked to go into the specifics about southpaws and right hands. But basically, only 2 punches work against a southpaw. A straight right and a left hook. That's a long punch. Left hook's a short punch. So that's got to land first before that lands. My shoulder was buggered. I couldn't throw the right hand. It was out of the socket. I couldn't throw it. And I lost. And at the final hurdle, I didn't qualify. I was devastated. I was gutted. And I flew home the next day. I flew home on a Sunday. Monday morning, I was in surgery for the shoulder. And I rehabbed like a monster. So it took me 12 months, this one. This one got back in 4 months. So rather than my arm being a sting for a month, it was out of the sting after 10 days. Out of a week, sorry. You're going to start getting full range after 6 weeks. I was getting full range after 3 weeks. I was doing things way early than I should have done, but I had no choice to get back.
So that's to make the April qualifier.
That's to get back for the qualifier, yeah. I mean, I was done to get back for the qualifier. I got back for the qualifier. I fought, and my qualifying fight, I fought the same Georgian that popped my shoulder 6 months before. So no, what was that? Like 10 months before, from the June to a year before. Yeah, a year before. 10 months before. I fought him, and I boxed terribly against him. I saw red. Like I was so angered by him making me go through this horrible 4 month recovery process, and I blamed it on him and not qualifying. When the other guys did qualify, I didn't qualify because this prick broke my shoulder. So rather than boxing him, I just lost my head. And I would drag on a little bit, so I'll kind of reduce this. But I was 6 points down going into the last round. And some context for you, In the previous 4-year Olympic cycle at international boxing, not one person across the world had ever overturned a 3-point deficit going into the last round. 4 points is unimaginable, 5 points is impossible, over 6 points down. Never been done before. In the last round, I punched him. Last round, I worked so hard that I gave myself exercise-induced asthma. Like now, to a point now, when I go and do a cardio, I've got to take a puff for it because my lungs, I worked that hard, I gave myself asthma. Overturned the 6-point deficit, I beat him, and I qualified. So after the rigmarole of missing 2008 and getting kicked off the squad, and then injuring my shoulder in 2008, shoulder in 2011, the surgeries, this, that. I was finally at the Olympic Games. I could finally say I was going to become an Olympian, and my dreams, although I hadn't in the way it was meant to be, it was now could happen.
How did that feel, knowing that you were going to be an Olympian at a home games as well?
That was really weird, mate. That was really weird because when I qualified, I had these visions. I visualized. I think when I qualify, and I in a place as in Turkey, a place called Trabzon. It's a shithole. And my girlfriend came, and my wife, and my friends came, and my team came, and I just when I qualified, it was amazing. Like in my head, right? This is how like resolute and determined I was. In my head, I couldn't foresee the Olympics happening without me there. Like, and every time I ever pictured it, I was always there, front and center. It was really weird. I thought they're not gonna happen without me. They've got, even though my arm was like, honestly, when I say I turned a 10-month rehab into 4 months, that's what I did. Like, and my form was so good before that the coach said to me, "You'd rather send me with one arm than the other middleweight with 2 arms." You know, and then I had to go there and still beat some of the best boxers in the world to qualify. The Russian that I beat, who was the European champion in the world, he was there. He didn't qualify. He got beat by somebody else. They got beat by the Georgian, and I beat him. So some amazing boxers didn't qualify for the Olympic Games that year. Unbelievable boxers. That 2 years before, you'd have said he's a shoo-in for the gold medal. But it's weird. I sat in my bed that night when at the hotel after qualifying, and as a weird, I thought I was gonna be really happy, and I was happy, but I was like, okay, cool. I'm where I should have been anyway. So it wasn't that big of a deal, although it was really weird. I should have been there 8 months ago. Or
was it more relief?
Not relief. I wasn't relieved because relief means that you weren't sure if you're going to do it or not. As I said a minute ago, I was so sure I was going to do it, even though it seemed like I wouldn't. I just in my head that's the way it was going to be. It wasn't relief. It was just what it should have been. You know. Anyway. So the Olympic Games now are in 7.5 weeks. From that night in the hotel in Trabzon, I came home. I had a week off with my family. I went to Sheffield. I had a week training in Sheffield. So the GB squad, we trained up in Sheffield at the EIS. So get done on Monday to Friday, back for a weekend. On a Tuesday morning, I had a phone call from my sister. I don't think you know this, Mo. So on Tuesday morning, I had a phone call from my sister. 8:20, answered the phone. A weird time to get a call from my sister. Answered the phone. She was crying her eyes out, hyperventilating. She went, "Andy, you got to get home. Like, get home right now. Mom, she's about to die." I went, fuck. And
so we're talking what now? 5 weeks before the games?
5.5 weeks before my first fight. 5.5 weeks before my first fight. I went, jumped in the car, flew on. She'd had a brain aneurysm, really bad. And I walked into hospital. And she was hung up to the machine, which was keeping her alive. My sister's flung her arms over me as I walked in the door. My nan was there. Everyone was crying. I felt like they just grabbed hold of me when I walked in. And I was like I was meant to do something. You know, as I mentioned earlier, my mum was our hero, all of us. So the doctor asked to speak to me in his little office. He was a junior doctor. He said to me, "Your mum, she suffered a subarachnoid bleed in the back of her brain, left side. It's really, really bad." He said to me, "There's nothing more we can do." He said, and this was a throwaway comment, he said, "The only place they could do something is Addenbrooke's, which is in Cambridge, with a specialist head unit." He said, "But we spoke to them, there's no beds available. But anyway, we've sent the scans to him. We looked at them and they've said, look, we can't do anything. Oh, it's too bad of a bleed. You've got to turn off the life support machine. And I went, and I sat for a second. I thought, hung on to a little bit of hope. He said, the only place they could do anything was Adam Brooks. I said, okay. I went, can you please send it to Adam Brooks then, just so they can like double check? He went, no, we can't because there's no beds available, as I've said. And anyway, they've got the scans and they won't do anything anyway because it's too bad. Okay. I said, but she's my mum and I want a second opinion. Can you please send it to Adam Brooks? It's like a 2-hour like ambulance ride away. He said, no. I asked him 3 times very politely. The 4th time, I lost my shit. I went berserk at him, because I asked 3 times politely. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I did. But I remember losing my temper. And he's left. It could have been for a minute. It could have been for 20. I don't know. He's come back in. And he said he's been on the phone to Adam Brooks. A bed has just opened up. I was like, all right, okay. He said, we're going to send her. But trying to be aware that it's not looking good and they won't do anything. I said, oh, thank you, and left it. So the blue letter to the Adam Brooks, jumped in my car, followed behind. And that's where I stayed for a month. I got a little B&B. Before Airbnbs were a thing, I got a B&B in Cambridge. I was in hospital every day, holding her hand, stroking her hair. Didn't do a thing for a month. She'd have operations in a coma. She had operations on her brain seemingly every couple of days to save her life and to, So I didn't do a thing. Didn't do a press up, didn't throw a punch, didn't do a sit up for a month. And month's gone by, my first, and I'd pulled out of the Olympics because how can I go to the Olympic Games? My mum, my hero, was probably never going to see her again. So I felt guilty going to the vending machine and not being there for half an hour. I couldn't go away and train and focus on boxing when she was like in that position and could have died.
What was the GB squad like? What was there? Were they supportive or?
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, I said. So I spoke to my girlfriend. Spoke to the coach, Rob McCracken. I said, look, tell them I'm gonna come back, and they wanted me to fight, obviously, because for me and for them. And then my girlfriend, and my sisters, they said to me after a month, they said to me, Mum's going to get better. Now, at this point, none of us thought she would. So Mum's going to get better. And then when she does, she's going to feel awful knowing that you didn't do the games because of her. And play the biggest guilt card known to man.
They're crafty like that, women, aren't they?
Yeah, before I might say that. And I went, but she was dead right, because up at that point, I lived at home still. Like, I was there for a weekend and back to Sheffield on the Monday. Monday morning, I'd come down, have like a little sandwiches made, in tin foil, a little drink. I'd come back on a Friday, give them my dirty clothes. By Monday morning, they're hung up, ready to go in my suitcase, like everything in between. And then I thought, you're right. Like, if the small chance she survives, that will kill her, knowing that I pulled out because of her, because she knew what it meant to me, and she knew what I'd been through. She'd been there when I'd been, Mom, get the paracetamol, my shoulder's sore. She'd been there. She'd seen me do it. So over the training, we had 1 week of training left in Sheffield, 1 week, and we had a family and friends day. So all the Olympians we had a family and friends day where all the guys boxing in London could invite their family and friends to watch us train for one last day. And I had no family there because they're obviously all my mum and yours. And as a sparring session, I sparred Fred Evans, and Fred was really good, southpaw, really good lad. And I told the coaches, don't tell the lads what's going on with me, because I didn't want any. I just wanted to go there, turn up, fight, come home. So I'm sparring Fred Evans. All his brothers and his dad is around the ring, like as a real fight, like patting the canvas. My phone was in my pocket because I am my mum's next of kin. So if anything happened, they called me. Any emergency surgeries had to do, they called me, and they did. They rang me up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. So my phone was in my pocket, right? On training, haven't thrown a punch in a month. The first punch I throw, a stoppage jab. Fred Evans, trying to impress his dad and his family, slips out, boom, body shot, and he breaks my rib. Rib was broken, and I got through the spar somehow, don't know how. I sat on the ring apron, crying my eyes out. And the sweat was masquerading my tears and the Vaseline on my face. My shoulder thing, crying my eyes out, thinking, fuck, man. My shoulder was still smashed. I couldn't do uppercuts or hooks, only throw straight shots. They had much power in there. Still, every time I threw a punch, it was sore. My Achilles, I'd like to have 4 surgeries on my Achilles, out of boxing for 2 years later on, because they were so bad. Had a broken rib, and I thought my mum was going to die. And I thought that was my build-up to the Olympic Games. That was my build-up. Like, I was fighting in 10 days. This isn't meant to be like this. They should not be like this. All the times I've visualized it in my head, it was not like this. But that was my Olympic build-up, and I didn't train the rest of the week because my rib was so sore. Having injections in it to numb the pain. In a really bad way. I'd lost weight because I mentioned earlier about losing weight. I was a middleweight, so 75 kilos in the Olympics. And I used to walk around about 78, 79 back then. I was 72, 73 kilos because I wasn't eating. I was ill. I was sick. I looked ill. Like, when you lose weight as a fighter, you look ripped and thin. I was gaunt. I didn't have good ab definition. So I was skinny rather than lean, just shit. The shit. Then I went into the Olympics, and then
what happened with it? Sorry, what happened with your mum?
She survived the brain aneurysm, which was great, and she's still alive with us today. Fingers crossed, which is amazing. She's the toughest woman I know.
That's great news.
Yeah, all because I had to go at a doctor and made him send her to Edinburgh. So, she at the time with the brain aneurysm, she had 3 grandchildren. She's now got 9. She's obviously, when you have a brain aneurysm, particularly one she has. This is my mum, right? This is my mum. So jumping forwards, but like at the Olympics, I had no clue she was going to live. I had to leave thinking I was never going to see her again. So during the Olympics, I would creep out the Olympic Village, jump in my car, parked at Wanstead Station, East London, drove up to Cambridge early hours in the morning, creep into the hospital, beg the nurse to let me in, hold my mum's hand for 20 minutes, give her a kiss on the head, get back in my car, drive back down to London, sneak back in the Olympic Village before the coaches woke up. I'd get to London 4:30 in the morning, wait till 5 a.m. for the tube to start running again, jump on the Central Line, back into Stratford, creep back into the village, back into my little room before the coaches woke up. I wouldn't sleep all day, then all night, then I'd crack on with the day. Did that twice. Did that 3 times in the Olympics. Twice whilst I was boxing, and the 3rd time was after I'd got beat. And that was not how it should have been. All the other athletes were out having a great time partying or training, and I was doing that. It was just real shit. But going back to my mum, what kind of person my mum is. So I was there. It's like, it could have been October. She was in hospital, so maybe like late September. She was out from the coma, and she was, and I was in the hospital with her, and the occupational therapist came around, and she gave my mum a pen, and she had to start like writing again, right? Learn to write, learn to do everything again, write, make a cup of tea, learn to walk again, everything. So she gave her a pen, right? And she had to write her name out, and it wasn't her name, but I was so proud of her, the fact that she was just there, like writing her name. She held it like a knife. She gonna stab somebody. Anyway, she had to learn to walk again. So 1 year later, almost 1 year later, she climbed Ben Nevis, which is obviously the biggest mountain in the UK. So the kind of person she is goes from learn to walk again to climbing the biggest mountain in the UK. So yeah, definitely my inspiration in that one. So yeah,
it's amazing, mate. So the Olympic Games, were you happy with the result?
No, I want the gold medal.
But even considering the adversity that you had before, like, do you reflect on it now, like, and look back and?
Yeah, it's taken me 8 years. It's taken me 8 years to be here and to be able to sit and go, yeah, what I did was an incredible achievement. Going through what I went through, the draw that I got at the Olympics, the hardship I faced, the build up to. But I was devastated, and then we talk about the mental health thing. Like, for a long time, I was really pissed off and bitter and jealous of people that achieved a gold medal when I deserved a gold medal more than anybody. Like, got to a point where I'd even compare myself to other sports and go, how come she's got, or I'm not going to say the name, but I watched something a couple of years ago. This is when I was really in a bad with my eye and had to retire, and watch this lady win the world championships in different sports, my sport. And me and her did a thing together a couple of years ago, a couple of years before that. She'd came 14th in the world and was really happy with that back then. And I was like, I remember thinking to her at the time, how can you be happy with 14th in the world? That's rubbish. But, and she's gone on to become world champion. And I was really bitter and jealous. Rather than being happy for her, and I'm honest, I'm big enough and I'm out of the depth enough to be able to say that I'm not this person now. But I was jealous of her being successful because I was a better athlete than her. I wanted more than her. I trained more than her. I had more of a winning mentality than her. But ultimately, I learned after a long time of being bitter and jealous that being bitter and jealous that other people did that I didn't do, even though I had a really shit hand of cards dealt to me. It's not good for me. It's not good for you. It just makes you upset and unhappy. And everyone's walked their own journeys in life, and sometimes things happen, and sometimes they don't, and it's unfair sometimes, but that's life.
Well, if it's any consolation, mate, I know that the nation were proud of you. They were proud of everyone on that squad and on Team GB, full stop. And now understanding your journey to that Olympic Games, I think when the dust settles and as you get a little bit older as well, you'll be even happier with how you managed to be so successful given the situation and circumstance around that preparation, which is about as worst preparation as you can possibly get for an elite competition. And so, when you won that medal, make no mistake, I remember watching it, and make no mistake, people were proud as anything to watch you have your hand raised.
Cheers, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, how long after the Olympic Games did you then sign for Golden Boy? Was that always an aspiration to go pro?
Nah, not at all. Actually, quite the opposite. I was never I'm the one boxer you'll ever talk to that wasn't fussed about turning pro. Didn't even really want to turn pro. Like my whole thing since I started boxing was become Olympic champion. That's why I hurt so much. I didn't because.
Did you want to then go to Rio? Then is that what the afterwards?
Reason why I didn't is because so my whole thing was to win an Olympic gold medal. And I was so upset that Anthony Joshua did and Luke Campbell did, and Nicola Adams did, and I didn't when I deserved it, in my opinion, more than them. And I went through more, and they wouldn't have went through that I went through and achieved what I did, in my opinion. It sounds really arrogant, I know, but that is, I remember being on the GB squad and Joshua hurt his thumb in the sparring session, and he's having a meltdown. And Ian Gatt, and I'm sitting there, my arm is skinny as anything. I'm struggling to curl a one kilo dumbbell at the very beginning of my rehab to get back for the second qualifier.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant anyway curling a 1 kilo dumbbell.
You know. Yeah, good on that. Good on. And then and Ian Gatt grabbed Joshua, brought him over to me. He said, "Look at him." He said, "Look at him. Don't you dare complain about a sprained thumb when that geezer. Look how far. Look at me. Look how determined he is. And get small little thing just to prove that I did things people didn't. I had a horrendous injury. I didn't lose my head. I was focused on what I had to do. I was very driven. I was very determined. Some people aren't cuffing us on the kind of cloth, And it's a shame for me. I'm jumping ahead a bit now, but I was never able to display that, though the stuff that I've got inside me, the determination, all that stuff, wasn't able to display that in the ring. So people love boxers that get knocked down 10 times, they get up, the Rocky stuff, put themselves up on the ropes, they're bleeding, they're sore, and they come back and they win. I had all that in me, yet in my career it was so unfortunate I never got to display that, So I jumped ahead. So the Olympic Games, I didn't want to turn pro. If I'd have won the gold medal in London, I probably would have retired from boxing. I probably would have just retired. And because how are you gonna? In my head, I don't come for money. I never had anything. But all I ever wanted to do is become, Olympic champion. To do that in London in front of my friends and family, my girlfriend, my wife, my mom, my sisters. My mum's in hospital. My sisters. You ain't gonna get watching Union Jack go up. I get tingles thinking about it now. And when I tell that story, I always say, stand there with my gold medal. In my head, that gold medal was around some Japanese guy's neck. It's still mine. It's actually mine. And then it's never going to get any better than that. So probably just retired and done something else in my life. Been 23, young, Olympic champion, doing something.
You could have tried Juve, couldn't you? You could have gone back to that.
I could have rang up Marcelo Lippi and said, "Listen, mate, do you need a box-to-box midfielder?" Yeah, I've tried something else, and I don't think I'm going to turn pro. I genuinely don't think it's easy to say this, and had Don King, Eddie Hearn, Golden Boy said, "Here's £5 million to turn pro." Maybe my head's going to be turned a little bit, but I'm sure as Olympic champion, I could have walked into something like earning good money, doing something else. I don't think I would have done it. I don't think I would have.
So why didn't you go to Rio? Why wasn't the Rio trajectory?
At this point in August, like my mum is still really, really unwell. Still thinks she's gonna die. Still think I'm never gonna see her again. And what I'd done, I'd wrapped up my mum's illness and the Olympics for me had become one. So I look back on the Olympics, and for many people, it's the best time of their life. The worst time of my life. The worst time of my life. Like, it was horrible. Horrible. I feel like I've got this, even now talking about it, I've got this horrible pain in my stomach just talking about it. On one hand, it was amazing. It was some really, really mad, cool thing. But I'll talk to some people who I was at the Olympic Games with, and they'll go to me, "Oh, do you remember when? Do you remember when?" And I'm like, "I don't remember it." Actually, because there's a massive chunk of my life I've just blocked out because it was so sad for me. My mum was so ill, and I just a huge chunk of my life just blocked out. So I don't remember certain bits. So what I'd wrapped them up together. My mum's illness, Olympics, and I just couldn't go through all again and get to the qualifiers and go and have it all back then. And Olympics had and have art, and that is now somewhat ruined for me because I just don't. Maybe it'll change in time, but still 8 years on, I'm still upset and gutted. I didn't get what I wanted to get, and so I thought, what, I'm just going to change. I'm going to repackage my dreams in the world title, becoming not just the world title, becoming Britain's best ever middleweight boxer was my goal. And up to that point, I've done the research. I've done the research in the past. Up until that point, when I turned pro, we had, I think, 5 British world middleweight champions, and combined, it had 8 world title defenses. All 5 boxers won a title, defended it once, lost it. One title, lost it. So all 5 boxers had 8 successful combined titles.
You're saying that was at middleweight?
That's middleweight.
Yeah, not so. And obviously, for people listening to this, there's a difference clearly between super middleweight and middleweight. For those that might jump some of the other names that might spring to mind.
Yeah, middleweight, 160 pounds middleweight. And obviously, yeah. So super middleweight is 168, so 12 stone. Middleweight is 160. So the 5 world champions, and yeah, I wanted to become the best. I wanted to, personally, my goal changed from Olympics to becoming my record. I wanted to win the world title, have 10 defenses, then retire. So I'm better than all the 5 champions put together, kind of thing, in terms of defenses. And that was a goal. And Golden Boy was giving me the best vehicle for that. So I turned pro.
So did they reach out to you then? How did that work? Like, what was because it's very sort of like the professional boxing fraternity is very sort of clandestine to the public. We just see the ring walk and the fireworks and the fight in the middle, but the backstage is very different to what the actual reality will be.
Yeah, massively. So basically, Richard Schaefer, who was the chief executive at Golden Boy, he was in London for the Olympic Games. He loved me. He saw the reaction I got. He watched all my interviews, loved my story, thought I was marketable, thought I was a great boxer, lots of talent, and he wanted to sign me. And he saw me as the British Oscar De La Hoya to go on and do all this stuff. He heard, and so and basically Golden Boy is really, really, my whole career is so unfortunate. Like Golden Boy, it could have been so good. So Richard Schaefer, Golden Boy was the biggest promotional company in the world, biggest by far in the US. He wanted to create a Golden Boy UK, Richard Schaefer, and be on BT Sport. So BT Sport wasn't even a thing back then. We went on our second meeting. He brought all this paperwork, showed me all the emails. He was talking to different people to create BT Sport. They were gonna, as they have done now. So everything he was gonna do is now in fruition. So the boxing fans out there now listening to this, they'll know there's Matchroom, and there's Matchroom USA. So basically, Richard wanted to do that, but in reverse, like 6 years before Eddie Hearn did it with Matchroom. And I was going to be the face of the Golden Boy UK thing, and I was going to be on British Sport and going to create the whole thing around me, and it was going to be great. And then I signed with Richard, signed with Golden Boy, and within 6 months of me signing for Golden Boy, Richard and Oscar De La Hoya, who is Golden Boy, he's the Golden Boy, he's the president of Golden Boy. They had a big fallout, and Oscar sacked him. I was like, where did that leave me? And I had a meeting with Oscar, and Oscar was like, oh, I don't want to do the UK thing. I don't want to do that. If you want to move to the US, then we can promote you here, but we're not going to the UK. And I was like, I don't want to come to the US because my fan base is in the UK. I want to build and become a big star here. And I saw how big boxing was becoming in the UK, and I wanted to be a part of that. And he said, well, kind of stuck ahead. It's kind of like being. And Oscar, they were great. I'm not like Oscar was great. He was really good. And ultimately, I was injured. And injuries kind of cut short my career. So it doesn't matter how good a promoter you've got. If you can't fight, then you can't fight. But Oscar was great, mate. Richard was brilliant. He just didn't want to do what Richard wanted to do. So I found myself essentially going back to the football analogy, being signed by a manager. Manager gets sacked. New manager comes in, and the new manager doesn't really want to play that formation to play him. And it's like, you kind of stuck. So I stuck on Golden Boy, and then, injuries. So the right shoulder, which I spoke about earlier, I rehabbed that in 4 months rather than the full 10. So that came out again in another fight because it just didn't heal properly because obviously it couldn't. So that came out again. I fought the whole fight with one arm, won the fight. I was out for a year on my Achilles. I was out for 3 months and 6 months of Achilles, trying different injections and stuff. In the end, had to get a big operation on them both sides. Had the operation, didn't work. There's an infection put in the Achilles. Had to redo the surgery. Out for a whole year. My first fight back, I popped my shoulder. Win the fight. Out for another 10 months. I had the worst career in the world. Then I came back. Had 3 fights. Knocked them all out. And then I got the WBC international fight, which gave me a top 10 ranking with WBC, which meant that I could fight the world champion in my next fight. So we're talking Golden Boy. There's all planned for me to fight the WBC champion at the time. All I do is win this international belt. So I was fighting for the October. I was going to fight the world champion either the following May or the following September in Vegas. With minimum purse of $5 million. I was become middleweight champion, and that number one of my 10 world title defenses. Number one, earn all the money in the world, and become this the boxer and the star that I thought I was born to be. In that fight, in the international belt, fractured my eye socket, damaged my eye irreparably. And then, to cut a long story short, ended up having 9 surgeries on my eye over the next 3 years. Spent $100,000 on my own money, sold my car, remortgaged my house to pay for surgeries that in the end didn't work. And forced to retire just as I was about to hit my peak. Forced to retire and forced to watch boxers that could not lace my gloves. Boxers that were number 2, number 3, number 4 to me, go on and become world champion and earn millions of pounds and live my life and live out my dreams, and that was very difficult to take. And then I had to retire. I had to retire with no money. I had to retire with a dodgy eye, doesn't work anymore. All my money, all my savings in the bank gone, spent on surgery that didn't work. And the career where I thought I was going to spend my entire life ended. And not just ended, I had complete disdain for boxing because it took everything away from me, very, very, very difficult situation to kind of be through.
How important were your family when you were going through that period?
Yeah, man, massively important. I've got an amazing family. My mum, my sisters, my wife has been a superstar to me. And I was a prick as well. I was horrible. I was horrible for a while, mate. I glossed over it, but for 3 years, 9 surgeries. Every surgery I had, I'm a very positive person. Every surgery I had, I generally thought, this is the one. This is the one that's going to get me back. This is the one. It never was. And that does a lot to you, 9 times in the spin over 3 years. Like, so much money. I'm quite intelligent. So I've always saved my money for a rainy day. I had a whole rainy bloody 3 years. And all my money I saved went, and you'd be pissed off if you spend 100 quid on something and don't get what you want. That pisses you off. Spend 100 grand on 9 things, it doesn't work. It just breaks your heart. But yeah, my wife has been amazing. Family have been great. Friends are good. Yeah, it's really important to kind of be around people that can help you, that can bring you out of it.
So your career's been brought to a premature end. That's a pretty incredible story. With the amount of adversity that you faced, I don't know many other people that would be able to face that much and still be sat here. Like, one thing, when I first met you, the one thing that I noticed was how annoyingly happy and outgoing you were. Like, you are like such a outgoing bloke. It's like, and I say annoyingly jovially, but you are certainly outward facing, a guy that is half full, like, right, what can we do? And you can tell that your curiosity and your thirst for something is always there. When we met and we went, down to the camp, you're like inquisitive, genuinely inquisitive about stuff. You're learning, you want to know. There's always a quest for more. And the period of time, to maybe place that in context, the period of time where your career was brought to the end must have been excruciating for you, especially someone that has always been capable and always been a person that has succeeded no matter the odds, and to have that taken away from you, and it, like, maybe, I don't know, 3 years of it slipping through your fingers and you can't grip it.
Yeah, mate, it would have been easier for me. I had a box that night and my eyeball just fell out. I genuinely would have rather that, because no eyeball implode. I can never fight again. The decision's been made there and then. Now I'm 27. I've got to figure something else out the rest of my life. But the fact it was so brutal over 3 years, and it's so slow, and just the anguish over such a long period of time was horrible. And they were not quite good, but they're there. Like, that's the worst bit. I've just been fucked. You're fucked. You can't box ever again. All right, now I've got no choice but to move on. But it was just so dragged over a long period of time. And go back to my dedication. So you mentioned earlier about dedication. This is one snippet of something I've always done, and I've always displayed this kind of dedication. But those 3 years, 2.5 years before I retired, I had 7 surgeries when I retired officially. I had 2 more surgeries in private without the weight of the world on my shoulders. Are you going to box again? Before I really called it a day. It was 9 surgeries in 3 years. When I retired in March 2019, it was 7. But I said I had 2 more. When I was going to story, I just thought I was going to say. So those whole 2.5 years, I live in Essex. Our mutual friend Barry O'Connell, who's unbelievable man. I cannot big him up enough.
He still tucks his tracksuit bottoms into his socks, by the way. I saw him a few weeks back, and he's still doing that.
And he'll never change, and I love that about him. I love him. He's such a boxer. He's I wish I'd have met him earlier in my boxing career. The saddest thing for me, I mentioned a minute ago, is that I never got to display my true qualities in the ring. All my feats of strength, mental, physical, have been outside the ring, on operating tables, blah, blah, blah. Never been done in the ring. And I finally got the team I wanted. I had an amazing boxing trainer. My last boxing coach was really, really good, but I was never a priority of his, and it just wasn't the way it should have been. I had amazing strength and conditioning coaches. My setup was perfect. The last 2 weeks, so I trained for 2.5 years before retiring. And the point I'm making is, I drove from Essex to Hammersmith, West London, an hour and a half there every day, over 2 hours back because of traffic. I spent 3.5 hours in the car every single day, be at the gym for 3 hours, train my ass off. So about 6.5 hours in a day, and train in the morning before I went. So I'd wake up at 6 a.m., wouldn't get back till 8 p.m. every single day for 2.5 years, because I genuinely thought I was going to get back in the ring and I was going to fight. And I thought when my eye does get right, there's not going to be no 6-fight warm-ups. Fight the guy I fought when my eye went, then back into the world title picture. And it never happened. And that's the dedication you got to have. And that's why I get upset when I say people have got my gold medal, or this person's won the world title, or he's a millionaire, or he's been Olympic champion. They wouldn't have done what I did. And I didn't. And that's the thing that gets me sad still.
Do you ever think that? So how old are you now?
32.
So do you ever like, which is still young? Yeah, it's not like your 20s clearly, but you're still young. Do you ever reflect and think that you're destined for something greater than that? There's a reason why that's happened to you, because you needed to go through that for something else.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's easy. I mean, that's a nice way to look at things. You know, it's a nice way to look at things. And I always think, and I get wound up when I talk about it, because it's still very raw to me. I only retired 18 months ago, and it's still very raw. And those people I talk about are still doing it now. They're still winning, you know, and it does upset me, and just proves how much it meant to me, and meant to me. I do think that. I also think that, like, you never know what you're being saved from. Like, I had lots of injuries, and each time they were getting worse and worse and worse. So, the shoulder, the rib, the face, this, that. And then the eye, they were getting worse, right? So let's say, this is how I think of it sometimes. You hear those stories where, like, you know, a bloke the bloke who worked in the World Trade Center for 15 years, had never been late a day in his life. Not a day. Then one particular day, September 11th, 2001, his missus rings him up. Oh, you got to get the kids from school because she's not very well. Go and get her. He's like, no, I doesn't want to do it. He gets her. He's late for work. The building goes down. Had there been any day in the 15 years, he'd have been in it. He'd have died. So that saved him from what happened. And that's a big thing which obviously happened. You can see what you were saved from. Like, you never know what I was saved from. Maybe something really bad was going to happen to me in my next fight, or the next fight after that. Maybe I was going to get brain damage or die, which happens in the ring. Though all the time people get brain damage all the time, but it can happen. People can lose their lives in the ring. So maybe that was going to happen to me. Maybe I'm being saved from that. And because I can't see that, I'm just thinking about what I didn't get, rather than a whole new lease of life. What I did get, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so, I personally am a huge believer in everything happens for a reason, and you are an individual that has cultivated a vision, a direction, and a sheer bloody mindedness to get something. And your dedication is unrivaled. You know, if everybody could have a little bit of how dedicated you are, the world would be a better place. But you imagine what that in 32 years. Imagine what you'd be at 64, and what your next 32 years is going to bring. And the experience, you're an expert through experience. You're capable and you're able. What the next 32 years, knowing what you've been through and knowing how capable you are, and the ability that you have, that's a potent combination. Whereas you wouldn't have realized that at 22, because although you'd been through adversity, you hadn't been through what you'd been through now. So looking back, to use that to move forward, and you'll have a greater roadmap. Yeah, it's not going to be Olympic gold medal. Of course, it's not going to be, and that I don't say that lightly. And I can't even begin to imagine what that experience would have been like, for better or worse. But to have what you've got, to be able to plan your next moves and move forward, is something that you can't recreate, and that creates something special.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, you know, I mean, I could sit and complain about what I haven't got, but I've got an awful lot of stuff, like loads of experiences, loads of success. You know, it's been amazing. I've lived. If I was to die today, 32 years old, I'd be annoyed because there's a lot of things still what I want to do. If I were to die, genuinely, like, I'd be like, oh, cool. I mean, I've had a fucking cracking life already. 32 years old, I've lived 3 lives in one already. I've done so much cool stuff. And it's not so much about, you know, I'm good. I want to make it to 100, of course I do. But I'm just saying I've done an awful lot. I genuinely, would be like, oh, that's a shame. Well, at least I had a great time.
But mate, I think it's fair to say that your boxing career has been a damn sight better than your Strictly career. Your Strictly Come Dancing career.
Mate, honestly, like you joke, right? You joke. I'm not even gonna. You think I'm bitter talking about not winning the Olympic Games? Don't get me started on that one. I'll take you over a beer one day.
And it's not like you didn't have like the most amazing partner either.
Don't don't put that out thread. I'm telling you,
mate. Just to finish off, like, explain what you're doing right now and where you are and what the next phase of Mr. Ogogo's life is.
Yeah, so I had to retire last March, and I did an interview with BBC Sport on my retirement day. And they said, "What's the next?" I went, "I don't know, because my entire life I wanted to be a boxer." And I said those 3 years I'd give my all to get back in the ring. And he said to me, like, "You last fought 2.5 years ago. You must have thought about what was next." Now, like, in my head, I've been retired for 27 minutes. That's the first interview I did, and I thought, and that was on a Monday, and my last spar was on the Wednesday. I mean, I went again that Wednesday, so I knew that Wednesday I was going to retire. We had 5 days to plan it, and then that was the day. So I said, no, I haven't thought about it. I said, I don't know. I've always liked wrestling. I might become a wrestler. And I've generally always liked wrestling. Always loved wrestling. And then I was on a Wednesday. I had the 2 biggest wrestling companies in the world reach out to me.
So after that interview,
yeah,
they'd seen it.
So BBC Sport goes all around the world, and they both flew me out for meetings, and they're like, "Oh, because if you're going to do this, it's a lot of work." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not shy. It's my hard work. Fuck, it's proper hard work as well. Goodness me, it's hard work." And then I'd go with AEW, All Elite Wrestling. That is like, before they ever had a show, they were the second biggest company in the world, behind WWE, who also offered me a contract. Chose AEW because of the vision and what we're doing here in the company is we're changing wrestling, the face of wrestling. And yeah, so I'm now a professional wrestler. So it's going to be an amazing. It's an amazing journey. I'm in the very beginning of it, but it's going to be an amazing journey, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's not boxing. I was boxing for 18 years. I dreamt of being a boxer from being a kid. It ain't boxing, and I don't want to say negatively that it's the next best thing, because it's an amazing thing in its own right. But for me, wrestling is the only things, because in my head, what I wanted to do as a boxer, I wanted to retire at 37 with these world title fights, and then I wanted to enjoy myself for 3 years, because I've been so dedicated for so long. Have 3 years and just enjoy myself, go on holiday and do this, that, and the other. And at 40, get a real job. 40, start a whole new career, do something totally different. Because 40, you're still a young man, you still got plenty in the tank if you want to have plenty in the tank. And I was going to start again at 40. So, and I don't know what that next career would have been. Maybe TV, maybe some acting, maybe politics, I don't know. And what the retirement thing, being the positive person I am, it hasn't sounded like that on this podcast, but I am a very positive person. I thought, what's it give me? I've now retired at 30, opposed to 37. Before I do something at 40, I've got a 10-year window to have some fun. I've got a fit body. The boxing gives me this fit, healthy body. When I'm 40, I won't be doing a new physical career. So I'm young enough now to do something totally different. I've always liked wrestling. Why not give it a go? It ticks the boxes that wrestling ticks: being in a ring, the competitive drive, the showmanship. It takes more boxes wrestling never tick for me. Weekly, being on TV weekly, like being in the ring more, be a bit more glitz and glamour. Why not? And I thought I gave it a go. Yeah, I'm now a professional wrestler. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving it. It's very hard, very demanding, physically very demanding. But yeah, hopefully this itch that I couldn't scratch from boxing because of injuries. Hopefully that I can scratch it doing this, and then when I'm 40, still a relatively young man, I can go out and try to conquer something else. So I've gone from wanting to become Britain's best ever middleweight boxer. I want to be like Forrest Gump. I just want to just do this and then kill it then do this, then kill it, then do that, then do that, just do different stuff. And as I said, if I were to die now, I think I've lived 3 lifetimes over. When I die 100 years old, I want to have lived 50 different lives, and cram as much life into this one life that we do get.
I have a final question for you. Will Anthony Ogogo ever slow down?
That's a funny one. That's perception, isn't it? Because I think I live a really chilled life. Like today was my day off, to be fair, but I woke up at 10:30 a.m. No, I woke up about 9. I'll go out of bed at 10. I train late. We train late here, so I didn't get him in America. So I don't get to bed till 2, 3 in the morning most nights. So when I say wake up at 9 a.m., that's not me being lazy. That's me getting my 6 hours in. But today was a really chilled out day. Like I don't like people's perception is I'll do I do loads of cool different stuff. But I get enough chill time. I slow down. Like I pick and choose my rest. I just when I do something, I do it impactfully, so it has impact and it's big. And and when I physically, I will slow down. When I get to 40, yes, I'll train. I'll keep myself healthy because, as we both know, that's great for you physically, but also mentally, it's great for you. But I wanna. There's things I wanna conquer, and if I want to become a TV presenter, then I want to be the next Gary Lineker. If I want to become an actor, I want to be better than Vinnie Jones. So, want to be a politician, then I want to do some good in the world. So yeah, there's a few things there I want to do. So short answer, no, I don't think I will slow down.
Mate, I love that. I love that mindset that you have, and I think that it is infectious in a positive way. Look, we've been talking for a good hour and a half, and what I'd like to finish off with, as my sort of passing comment, is that I've listened to a hugely successful individual that has faced significant adversity, but the one thing that stands out for me is that you are incredibly rich in family, and it resonates the way that you speak about your sisters. And I'm sure that it was an interesting childhood being the only lad in a house full of girls. I feel your pain, and the way that you speak about your mum, it's really powerful. And I think when all's said and done, if we're talking about wealth and anything, you are the richest man in the world. So if that's anything to take away, mate, and be confident and have comfort in, then so be it, mate.
Too kind, thank you, mate. And as I said earlier, my wife, she's also been wonderful, and she is my family. Like we haven't got kids yet, but me and her, we are very much family. So, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate that. Really, really kind of you to say,
mate. It's been genuinely an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, mate. It's been great.